What is the most important reason for doing a vehicle inspection? Safety is the most important reason you inspect your vehicle, safety for yourself, and for other ROA users. What things should you check during a trip? For safety you should, during a trip watch gauges for signs of trouble. Use your senses to check for problems, look, listen, smell, feel. Name some suspension system defects. The suspension system holds up the vehicle and its load. It keeps the axles in place. Therefore, broken suspension parts can be extremely dangerous. Look for spring hangers that allow movement of axle from proper position. Cracked or broken spring hangers. Missing or broken leaves in any leaf spring. If 1/4 or more are missing, it will put the vehicle out of service, but any defect could be dangerous. Broken leaves in a multi-leaf spring or leaves that have shifted so they might hit a tire or other part. Leaking shock absorbers, torque rod or arm, U-bolts, spring hangers, or other axle positioning par that are cracked, damaged, or missing. Air suspension systems that are damaged and or leaking. Any loose, cracked, broken, or missing frame members. Name some key steering system parts. Steering system, steering wheel, tie rod, steering shaft, power steering cylinder, steering arm, hydraulic fluid reservoir, drag link, gearbox, pitman arm, steering knuckle, spindle. What 3 kinds of emergency equipment must you have? Check for safety equipment. Spare electrical fuses, unless vehicle has circuit breakers. 3 red reflective triangles, 6 fuses, or 3 liquid burning flares. Properly charged and rated fire extinguisher. What is the minimum tread depth for front tires? For other tires, you must have at least 4/32-inch tread depth in every major groove on front tires, and at least 2/32-inch on other tires. Name some things you should check on the front of your vehicle during the walk-around inspection. Check that all lights work properly, and look for leaking fluids under the vehicle. What should wheel bearing seals be checked for? Seals must not be leaking. How many red reflective triangles should you carry? 3. How do you test hydraulic brakes for leaks? Test for hydraulic leaks. If the vehicle has hydraulic brakes, pump the brake pedal 3 times. Then apply firm pressure to the pedal and hold for 5 seconds. The pedal should not move. If it What 3 kinds of emergency there may be a leak or other problem. Get it fixed before driving. Why put the starter switch key in your pocket during the pre-trip inspection? To make sure no one starts the truck while you are inspecting it. Subsections 2.2 and 2.3. Why should you back toward the driver's side? Back to the driver's side so you can see better. If stopped on a hill, how can you start moving without rolling back? Make sure the vehicle does not start rolling backward after you stop. Put it in low gear, apply the parking brake, and, if necessary, roll back into some obstacle that will stop the vehicle. When backing, why is it important to use a helper? Use a helper when you can? There are blind spots you can't see. That's why a helper is important. What's the most important hand signal that you and the helper should agree on? Before you begin backing, work out a set of hand signals that you both understand. Agree on a signal for stop. 5. What are the 2 special conditions where you should downshift? Before starting down a hill, slow down and shift down to a speed that you can control without using the brakes hard. Otherwise, the brakes can overheat and lose their braking power. Before entering a curve, slow down to a safe speed and downshift to the right gear before entering the curve. When should you downshift automatic transmissions? Some vehicles have automatic transmissions. You can select a low range to get greater engine braking when going down grades. The lower ranges prevent the transmission from shifting up beyond the selected gear. Retarders keep you from skidding when the road is slippery. True or false? Some vehicles have retarders. Retarders help slow a vehicle, reducing the need for using your brakes. They reduce brake wear and give you another way to slow down. There are 4 basic types of retarders: exhaust, engine, hydraulic, and electric. All retarders can be turned on or off by the driver. On some vehicles, the retarding power can be adjusted. When turned on, retarders apply their braking power to the drive wheels only whenever you let up on the accelerator pedal all the way. Because these devices can be noisy, be sure you know where their use is permitted. Caution: when your drive wheels have poor traction, the retarder may cause them to skid. Therefore, you should turn the retarder off whenever the road is wet, icy, or snow-covered. What are the 2 ways to know when to shift? Knowing when to shift up. There are 2 ways of knowing when to shift. Use engine speed, RPM. Study the driver's manual for your vehicle and learn the operating RPM range. Watch your tachometer and shift up when your engine reaches the top of the range. Some newer vehicles use progressive shifting. The RPM at which you shift becomes higher as you move up in the gears. Find out what's right for the vehicle you will operate. Use road speed, miles per hour. Learn what speeds each gear is good for. Then, by using the speedometer, you'll know when to shift up. With either method, you may learn to use engine sounds to know when to shift. Subsections 2.4, 2.5, and 2.6. How far ahead does the manual say you should look? Most good drivers look at least 12 to 15 seconds ahead. That means looking ahead the distance you will travel in 12 to 15 seconds. What are 2 main things to look for ahead? 7. Look for traffic. Look for vehicles coming onto the highway, into your lane, or turning. Watch for brake lights from slowing vehicles. By seeing these things far enough ahead, you can change your speed, or change lanes if necessary to avoid a problem. What's your most important way to see the sides and rear of your vehicle? Regular checks. You need to make regular checks of your mirrors to be aware of traffic and to check your vehicle. You need to make regular checks of your mirrors to be aware of traffic and to check your vehicle. What does communicating mean in safe driving? Other drivers can't know what you are going to do until you tell them. Signaling what you intend to do is important for safety. Where should your reflectors be placed when stopped a divided highway? If you must stop on or by a one-way or divided highway, place warning devices 10 feet, 100 feet, and 200 feet toward the approaching traffic. What 3 things add up to total stopping distance? Stopping distance, perception distance plus reaction distance plus braking distance, total stopping distance, 8. If you go twice as fast, will your stopping distance increase by 2-4 times? The faster you drive, the greater the impact or striking power of your vehicle. When you double your speed from 20 to 40 miles per hour, the impact is 4 times greater. The braking distance is also 4 times longer. Empty trucks have the best braking. True or false? Empty trucks require greater stopping distances because an empty vehicle has less traction. What is hydroplaning? In some weather, water or slush collects on the road. When this happens, your vehicle can hydroplane. It's like water skiing. The tires lose their contact with the road and have little or no traction. You may not be able to steer or brake. What is black ice? Black ice is a thin layer that is clear enough that you can see the road underneath it. It makes the road look wet. Anytime the temperature is below freezing and the road looks wet, watch out for black ice. Subsections 2.7 and 2.8. How do you find out how many seconds of following distance space you have? To know how much space you have, wait until the vehicle ahead passes a shadow on the road, a pavement marking, or some other clear landmark. Then count off the seconds like this: 1001, 1002, and so on, until you reach the same spot. If you are driving a 30-foot vehicle at 55 miles per hour, how many seconds of following distance should you allow? How much space should you keep in front of you? One good rule says you need at least 1 second for each 10 feet of vehicle length at speeds below 40 miles per hour. At greater speeds, you must add 1 second for safety. You should decrease your following distance if somebody is following you too closely. True or false? If you find yourself being tailgated, here are some things you can do to reduce the chances of a crash. Avoid quick changes. If you have to slow down or turn, signal early and reduce speed very gradually. Increase your following distance. Opening up room in front of you will help you to avoid having to make sudden speed or direction changes. It also makes it easier for the tailgater to get around you. Don't speed up. It's safer to be tailgated at a low speed than a high speed. Avoid tricks. Don't turn on your tail lights or flash your brake lights. Follow the suggestions above. 10. If you swing wide to the left before turning right, another driver may try to pass you on the right. True or false? Turn slowly to give yourself and others more time to avoid problems. If you are driving a truck or bus that cannot make the right turn without swinging into another lane, turn wide as you complete the turn. Keep the rear of your vehicle close to the curb. This will stop other drivers from passing you on the right. Don't turn wide to the left as you start the turn. A following driver may think you are turning left and try to pass you on the right. You may crash into the other vehicle as you complete your turn. What is a hazard? A hazard is any road condition or other road user, driver, bicyclist, pedestrian, that is a possible danger. Why make emergency plans when you see a hazard? Seeing hazards lets you be prepared. You will have more time to act if you see hazards before they become emergencies. In the example above, you might make a lane change or slow down to prevent a crash if the car suddenly cuts in front of you. Seeing this hazard gives you time to check your mirrors and signal a lane change. Being prepared reduces the danger. Subsections 2.9 and 2.10. 11. What are some tips to follow so you won't become a distracted driver? Your goal should be to eliminate all in-vehicle distractions before driving begins. Accomplishing this goal can be done by assessing all potential in-vehicle distractions before driving, developing a preventative plan to eliminate possible distractions, expecting distractions to occur, discussing possible scenarios before getting behind the wheel. How do you use in-vehicle communications equipment cautiously? You must use a mobile phone. Make sure it is within close proximity, that it is operable while you are restrained. Use an earpiece or the speakerphone function, use voice-activated dialing, or use the hands-free feature. Drivers are not in compliance if they unsafely reach for a mobile phone, even if they intend to use the hands-free function. How do you recognize a distracted driver? You need to be able to recognize other drivers who are engaged in any form of driving distraction. Not recognizing other distracted drivers can prevent you from perceiving or reacting correctly in time to prevent a crash. Watch for vehicles that may drift over the lane divider lines or within their own lane. Vehicles traveling at inconsistent speeds. Drivers who are preoccupied with maps, food, cigarettes, cell phones, or other objects. Drivers who appear to be involved in conversations with their passengers. What are some tips to follow so you won't become a distracted driver? Your goal should be to eliminate all in-vehicle distractions before driving begins. Accomplishing this goal can be done by assessing all potential in-vehicle distractions before driving. What is the difference between aggressive driving and road rage? Aggressive driving is the act of operating a motor vehicle in a selfish, bold, or pushy manner, without regard for the rights or safety of others, i.e., changing lanes frequently and abruptly without notice. Road rage is operating a motor vehicle with the intent of doing harm to others, or physically assaulting a driver or their vehicle. What should you do when confronted with an aggressive driver? First and foremost, make every attempt to get out of their way. Put your pride in the back seat. Do not challenge them by speeding up or attempting to hold your own in your travel lane. Avoid eye contact. Ignore gestures and refuse to react to them. Report aggressive drivers to the appropriate authorities by providing a vehicle description, license number, location, and if possible, direction of travel. If you have a cell phone and can do it safely, call the police. If an aggressive driver is involved in a crash farther down the road, stop a safe distance from the crash scene. Wait for the police to arrive and report the driving behavior that you witnessed. 13. What are some things you can do to reduce your stress before and while you drive? But so Berishan 8 dice to ease string my caulking on. Your cell phone, eating, etc. Be realistic about your travel time. Expect delays because of traffic, construction, or bad weather and make allowances. If you're going to be later than you expected, deal with it. Take a deep breath and accept the delay. Give other drivers the benefit of the doubt. Try to imagine why he or she is driving that way. Whatever their reason, it has nothing to do with you. Slow down and keep your following distance reasonable. Don't drive slowly in the left lane of traffic. Avoid gestures. Keep your hands on the wheel. Avoid making any gestures that might anger another driver. Even seemingly harmless expressions of irritation, like shaking your head. Be a cautious and courteous driver. If another driver seems eager to get in front of you, say, "Be my guest." This response will soon become a habit and you won't be as offended by other drivers' actions. Subsections 2.1, 2.12, 2.13, and 2.14. 14. You should use low beams whenever you can. True or false? Use high beams when you can? Some drivers make the mistake of always using low beams. This seriously cuts down on their ability to see ahead. Use high beams when it is safe and legal to do so. Use them when you are not within 1,000 feet of an approaching vehicle. What should you do before you drive if you are drowsy? Pre-trip procedures. Make sure you are rested and alert. If you are drowsy, sleep before you drive. Even a nap can save your life, or the lives of others. If you wear eyeglasses, make sure they are clean and unscratched. Don't wear sunglasses at night. What effects can wet brakes cause? How can you avoid these problems? When driving in heavy rain or deep standing water, your brakes will get wet. Water in the brakes can cause the brakes to be weak, to apply unevenly, or to grab. This can cause lack of braking power, wheel lockups, pulling to one side or the other, and jackknife if you pull a trailer. You should let air out of hot tires so the pressure goes back to normal. True or false? Tires. Check the tire mounting and air pressure. Inspect the tires every 2 hours or every 100 miles when driving in very hot weather. Air pressure increases with temperature. Do not let air out or the pressure will be too low when the tires cool off. If a tire is too hot to touch, remain stopped until the tire cools off. Otherwise, the tire may blow out or catch fire. 15. You can safely remove the radiator cap as long as the engine isn't overheated. True or false? Never remove the radiator cap or any part of the pressurized system until the system has cooled. Steam and boiling water can spray under pressure and cause severe burns. If you can touch the radiator cap with your bare hand, it is probably cool enough to open. What factors determine your selection of a safe speed when going down a long, steep downgrade? Your most important consideration is to select a speed that is not too fast for the total weight of the vehicle and cargo, length of the grade, steepness of the grade, road conditions, weather. Why should you be in the proper gear before starting down a hill? Shift the transmission to a low gear before starting down the grade. Do not try to downshift after your speed has already built up. You will not be able to shift into a lower gear. You may not even be able to get back into any gear, and all engine braking effect will be lost. Forcing an automatic transmission into a lower gear at high speed could damage the transmission, and also lead to loss of all engine braking effect. 16. Describe the proper braking technique when going down a long, steep downgrade. The use of brakes on a long and/or steep downgrade is only a supplement to the braking effect of the engine. Once the vehicle is in the proper low gear, the following are the proper braking techniques. Apply the brakes just hard enough to feel a definite slowdown. When your speed has been reduced to approximately 5 miles per hour below your safe speed, release the brakes. This brake application should last for about 3 seconds. When your speed has increased to your safe speed, repeat steps 1 and 2. For example, if your safe speed is 40 miles per hour, you would not apply the brakes until your speed reaches 40 miles per hour. You now apply the brakes hard enough to gradually reduce your speed to 35 miles per hour, and then release the brakes. Repeat this as often as necessary until you have reached the end of the downgrade. What type of vehicles can get stuck on a railroad highway crossing? These trailers can get stuck on raised crossings. Low slung units, lowboy, car carrier, moving van, possum belly livestock trailer, single axle tractor pulling a long trailer with its landing gear set to accommodate a tandem axle tractor. How long does it take for a typical tractor trailer unit to clear a double track? It takes a typical tractor trailer unit at least 14 seconds to clear a single track, and more than 15 seconds to clear a double track. 17. Describe the proper braking technique when going down a long, steep downgrade. The use of brakes on a long and/or steep downgrade is only a supplement to the braking effect of the engine. Once the vehicle is in the proper low gear, the following are the proper braking techniques. Apply the brakes just hard enough to feel a definite slowdown. When your speed has been reduced to approximately 5 miles per hour below your safe speed, release the brakes. This brake application should last for about 3 seconds. When your speed has increased to your safe speed, repeat steps 1 and 2. For example, if your safe speed is 40 miles per hour, you would not apply the brakes until your speed reaches 40 miles per hour. You now apply the brakes hard enough to gradually reduce your speed to 35 miles per hour, and then release the brakes. Repeat this as often as necessary until you have reached the end of the downgrade. What type of vehicles can get stuck on a railroad highway crossing? These trailers can get stuck on raised crossings. Low slung units, lowboy, car carrier, moving van, Possum belly livestock trailer. Single axle tractor pulling a long trailer with its landing gear set to accommodate a tandem axle tractor. How long does it take for a typical tractor trailer unit to clear a double track? It takes a typical tractor trailer unit at least 14 seconds to clear a single track, and more than 15 seconds to clear a double track. 17. Stopping is not always the safest thing to do in an emergency. True or false? Stopping is not always the safest thing to do in an emergency. When you don't have enough room to stop, you may have to steer away from what's ahead. Remember, you can almost always turn to miss an obstacle more quickly than you can stop. What are some advantages of going right instead of left around an obstacle? If an oncoming driver has drifted into your lane, a move to your right is best. If that driver realizes what has happened, the natural response will be to return to his or her own lane. If the shoulder is clear, going right may be best. No one is likely to be driving on the shoulder, but someone may be passing you on the left. You will know if you have been using your mirrors. What is an escape ramp? Brake failure on downgrades. Going slow enough and braking properly will almost always prevent brake failure on long downgrades. Once the brakes have failed, however, you are going to have to look outside your vehicle for something to stop it. Your best hope is an escape ramp. If there is one, there will be signs telling you about it. Use it. Ramps are usually located a few miles from the top of the downgrade. Every year, hundreds of drivers avoid injury to themselves or damage to their vehicles by using escape ramps. Some escape ramps use soft gravel that resists the motion of the vehicle and brings it to a stop. Others turn uphill, using the hill to stop the vehicle and soft gravel to hold it in place. 18. If a tire blows out, you should put the brakes on hard to stop quickly. True or false? Respond to tire failure. When a tire fails, your vehicle is in danger? You must immediately hold the steering wheel firmly. If a front tire fails, it can twist the steering wheel out of your hand. The only way to prevent this is to keep a firm grip on the steering wheel with both hands at all times. Stay off the brake. It's natural to want to brake in an emergency. However, braking when a tire has failed could cause loss of control. Unless you're about to run into something, stay off the brake until the vehicle has slowed down. Then brake very gently, pull off the road, and stop. How do you know if your vehicle has anti-lock brakes? How to know if your vehicle is equipped with ABS? Tractors, trucks, and buses will have yellow ABS malfunction lamps on the instrument panel. Trailers will have yellow ABS malfunction lamps on the left side, either on the front or rear corner. What is the proper braking technique when driving a vehicle with anti-lock brakes? When you drive a vehicle with ABS, you should brake as you always have. In other words, use only the braking force necessary to stop safely and stay in control. Brake the same way, regardless of whether you have ABS on the bus, tractor, the trailer, or both. As you slow down, monitor your tractor and trailer, and back off the brakes, if it is safe to do so, to stay in control. There is only one exception to this procedure. If you drive a straight truck or combination with working ABS on all axles in an emergency stop, you can fully apply the brakes. 19. How do anti-lock brakes help you? When you brake hard on slippery surfaces in a vehicle without ABS, your wheels may lock up. When your steering wheels lock up, you lose steering control. When your other wheels lock up, you may skid, jackknife, or even spin the vehicle. ABS helps you avoid wheel lock up and maintain control. You may or may not be able to stop faster with ABS, but you should be able to steer around an obstacle while braking and avoid skids caused by overbraking. Subsections 2.20 and 2.21. What are some things to do at an accident scene to prevent another accident? The first thing to do at an accident scene is to keep another accident from happening in the same spot. To protect the accident area. If your vehicle is involved in the accident, try to get it to the side of the road. This will help prevent another accident and allow traffic to move. If you're stopping to help, park away from the accident. The area immediately around the accident will be needed for emergency vehicles. Put on your flashers. Set out reflective triangles to warn other traffic. Make sure other drivers can see them in time to avoid the accident. 20. Name 2 causes of tire fires. The following are some causes of vehicle fires. After accidents: spilled fuel, improper use of flares, tires, underinflated tires and duals that touch, electrical system, short circuits due to damaged insulation, loose connections, fuel, driver smoking, improper fueling, loose fuel connections, cargo, Flammable cargo, improperly sealed, or loaded cargo, poor ventilation. What kinds of fires is a B, C extinguisher not good for? The B, C type of fire extinguisher is designed to work on electrical fires and burning liquids. The A type is designed to work on burning wood, paper, and cloth. When using your extinguisher, should you get as close as possible to the fire? When using the extinguisher, stay as far away from the fire as possible. Aim at the source or base of the fire, not up in the flames. Subsections 2.222.23 and 2.24. Common medicines for colds can make you sleepy. True or false? Many medicines can make you sleepy. Those that do have a label warning against operating vehicles or machinery. The most common medicine of this type is a cold pill. If you have to drive with a cold, you are better off suffering from the cold than from the effects of the medicine. 21. What should you do if you become sleepy while driving? When you are sleepy, trying to push on is far more dangerous than most drivers think. It is a major cause of fatal crashes. Here are some important rules to follow. Stop to sleep. When your body needs sleep, sleep is the only thing that will work. If you have to make a stop anyway, make it whenever you feel the first signs of sleepiness, even if it is earlier than you planned. By getting up a little earlier the next day, you can keep on schedule without the danger of driving while you are not alert. Take a nap. If you can't stop for the night, at least pull off at a safe place, such as a rest area or truck stop, and take a nap. A nap as short as a half hour will do more to overcome fatigue than a half-hour coffee stop. Avoid drugs. There are no drugs that can overcome being tired. While they may keep you awake for a while, they won't make you alert. And eventually, you'll be even more tired than if you hadn't taken them at all. Sleep is the only thing that can overcome fatigue. Coffee and a little fresh air will help a drinker sober up. True or false? How alcohol works. Alcohol goes directly into the bloodstream and is carried to the brain. After passing through the brain, a small percentage is removed in urine, perspiration, and by breathing, while the rest is carried to the liver. The liver can only process 1/3 an ounce of alcohol per hour, which is considerably less than the alcohol in a standard drink. This is a fixed rate, so only time, not black coffee or a cold shower, will sober you up. If you have drinks faster than your body can get rid of them, you will have more alcohol in your body, and your driving will be more. 22. Affected. The blood alcohol concentration, BAC, commonly measures the amount of alcohol in your body. What is a hazardous materials placard? Placards are signs put on the outside of a vehicle that identify the hazard class of the cargo. Why are placards used? Placards are used to warn others of hazardous materials. What is sleep debt? Get enough sleep. Sleep is not like money. You can't save it up ahead of time, and you can't borrow it. But, just as with money, you can go into debt with it. If you don't sleep enough, you owe more sleep to yourself. This debt can only be paid off by sleeping. What are the danger signals of drowsy driving? V. Your eyes close or go out of focus by themselves. You have trouble keeping your head up. You can't stop yawning. You have wandering, disconnected thoughts. V. You don't remember driving the last few miles. You drift between lanes, tailgate, or miss traffic signs. You keep jerking the truck back into the lane. You have drifted off the road and narrowly missed crashing. Name 2 situations where legal maximum weights may not be safe. During bad weather or in mountains, it may not be safe to operate at legal maximum weights. Take this into account before driving. What can happen if you don't have enough weight on the front axle? Underloaded front axles, caused by shifting weight too far to the rear, can make the steering axle weight too light to steer safely. What is the minimum number of tie-downs for any flatbed load? No matter how small the cargo, it should have at least 2 tie-downs. What is the minimum number of tie-downs for a 20-foot load? Cargo should have at least 1 tie-down for each 10 feet of cargo. Name the 2 basic reasons for covering cargo on an open bed. There are 2 basic reasons for covering cargo. Comma, to protect people from spilled cargo. To protect the cargo from weather. 25. What must you check before transporting a sealed load? You cannot inspect sealed loads, but you should check that you don't exceed gross weight and axle weight limits. Subsection 5.1. Why must air tanks be drained? Compressed air usually has some water and some compressor oil in it, which is bad for the air brake system. For example, the water can freeze in cold weather and cause brake failure. The water and oil tend to collect in the bottom of the air tank. Be sure that you drain the air tanks completely. What is a supply pressure gauge used for? All vehicles with air brakes have a pressure gauge connected to the air tank. If the vehicle has a dual air brake system, there will be a gauge for each half of the system, or a single gauge with 2 needles. Dual systems will be discussed later. These gauges tell you how much pressure is in the air tanks. All vehicles with air brakes must have a low air pressure warning signal. True or false? A low air pressure warning signal is required on vehicles with air brakes. 26. What are spring brakes? All trucks, truck tractors, and buses must be equipped with emergency brakes and parking brakes. They must be held on by mechanical force, because air pressure can eventually leak away. Spring brakes are usually used to meet these needs. When driving, powerful springs are held back by air pressure. If the air pressure is removed, the springs put on the brakes. A parking brake control in the cab allows the driver to let the air out of the spring brakes. This lets the springs put the brakes on. Front wheel brakes are good under all conditions. True or false? Front wheel braking is good under all conditions. Tests have shown front wheel skids from braking are not likely even on ice. How do you know if your vehicle is equipped with anti-lock brakes? Tractors, trucks, and buses will have yellow ABS malfunction lamps on the instrument panel. Trailers will have yellow ABS malfunction lamps on the left side, either on the front or rear corner. Dollies manufactured on or after March 1, 1998 are required to have a lamp on the left side. Subsections 5.2 and 5.3. 27. What is a dual air brake system? Most heavy-duty vehicles use dual air brake systems for safety. A dual air brake system has 2 separate air brake systems, which use a single set of brake controls. Each system has its own air tanks, hoses, lines, etc. One system typically operates the regular brakes on the rear axle or axles. The other system operates the regular brakes on the front axle and possibly one rear axle. Both systems supply air to the trailer, if there is one. The first system is called the primary system. The other is called the secondary system. What are the slack adjusters? Slack adjusters are mechanical links between the brake chamber push rod and the camshaft on cam-type brakes. Slack adjusters are used to manually or automatically maintain proper brake chamber stroke and lining to drum clearance during normal operation. How can you check slack adjusters? Check slack adjusters on S-cam brakes. Park on level ground and shock the wheels to prevent the vehicle from moving. Release the parking brakes so you can move the slack adjusters. Use gloves and pull hard on each slack adjuster that you can reach. If a slack adjuster moves more than about 1 inch where the push rod attaches to it, it probably needs adjustment. 28. How can you test the low pressure warning signal? Test low pressure warning signal. Shut the engine off when you have enough air pressure so that the low pressure warning signal is not on. Turn the electrical power on and step on and off the brake pedal to reduce air tank pressure. The low air pressure warning signal must come on before the pressure drops to less than 60 psi in the air tank. How can you check that the spring brakes come on automatically? Check that spring brakes come on automatically. Continue to fan off the air pressure by stepping on and off the brake pedal to reduce tank pressure. The tractor protection valve and parking brake valve should close, pop out, on a tractor-trailer combination vehicle, and the parking brake valve should close, pop out, on other combination and single vehicle types when the air pressure falls to the manufacturer's specification 2045 psi. This will cause the spring brakes to come on. What are the maximum leakage rates? Test air leakage rate. With a fully charged air system, typically 125 psi, turn off the engine, chock your wheels, if necessary, release the tractor protection valve and parking brake, push in, and time the air pressure drop. The loss rate with no brakes applied should be less than 2 psi in 1 minute for single vehicles, and less than 3 psi in 1 minute for combination vehicles. Then fully apply the foot brake, and hold it for 1 minute. After the initial pressure drop, check the air gauge to see if the air pressure drops more than 3 pounds in 1 minute, single. 29. Vehicle, or 4 pounds in 1 minute, combination vehicle. If the air pressure falls more than 3 psi in 1 minute for single vehicles, more than 4 psi for combination vehicles, the air loss rate is too much. Subsection 5.4. Why should you be in the proper gear before starting down a hill? Before starting down a hill, slow down and shift down to a speed that you can control without using the brakes hard. Otherwise, the brakes can overheat and lose their braking power. What factors can cause brakes to fade or failure? Brakes are designed so brake shoes, or pads rub against the brake drum, or discs to slow the vehicle. Braking creates heat, but brakes are designed to take a lot of heat. However, brakes can fade or fail from excessive heat, caused by using them too much, and not relying on the engine braking effect. Excessive use of the service brakes results in overheating, and leads to brake fade. Brake fade results from excessive heat causing chemical changes in the brake lining, which reduce friction, and also causing expansion of the brake drums. The use of brakes on a long, steep downgrade is only a supplement to the braking effect of the engine. True or false? 30. The use of brakes on a long and/or steep downgrade is only a supplement to the braking effect of the engine. If you are away from your vehicle only a short time, you do not need to use the parking brake. True or false? Use the parking brakes whenever you park. Never leave your vehicle unattended without applying the parking brakes or chalking the wheels. Your vehicle might roll away and cause injury and damage. How often should you drain air tanks? Drain your air tanks at the end of each working day to remove moisture and oil. Otherwise, the brakes could fail. How do you brake when you drive a tractor-trailer combination with ABS? When you drive a tractor-trailer combination with ABS, you should brake as you always have. In other words, use only the braking force necessary to stop safely and stay in control. Brake the same way, regardless of whether you have ABS on the tractor, the trailer, or both. As you slow down, monitor your tractor and trailer, and back off the brakes, if it is safe to do so, to stay in control. You still have normal brake functions if your ABS is not working. True or false? 31. Without ABS, you still have normal brake functions. Drive and brake as you always have. Subsection 6.1. What two things are important to prevent rollover? The following two things will help you prevent rollover. Keep the cargo as close to the ground as possible, and drive slowly around turns. When you turn suddenly while pulling doubles, which trailer is most likely to turn over? Trucks with trailers have a dangerous crack the whip effect. When you make a quick lane change, the crack the whip effect can turn the trailer over. There are many crashes where only the trailer has overturned. Rearward amplification causes the crack the whip. Triples have a rearward amplification of 3.5. This means you can roll the last trailer of triples 3.5 times as easily as a 5-axle tractor. Why should you not use the trailer hand brake to straighten out a jackknifing trailer? Stop using the brake. Release the brakes to get traction back. Do not use the trailer hand brake if you have one, to straighten out the rig. This is the wrong thing to do since the brakes on the trailer wheels cause the skid in the first place. Once the trailer wheels grip the road again, the trailer will start to follow the tractor and straighten out. What is off tracking? 32. When a vehicle goes around a corner, the rear wheels follow a different path than the front wheels. This is called off-tracking or cheating. Longer vehicles will off-track more. When you back a trailer, you should position your vehicle so you can back in a curved path to the driver's side. True or false? If you must back on a curved path, back to the driver's side so you can see. What type of trailers can get stuck on railroad highway crossings? Low-slung units, lowboy, car carrier, moving van, possum belly livestock trailer, single axle tractor pulling a long trailer with its landing gear set to accommodate a tandem axle tractor. Subsection 6.2. Why should you not use the trailer hand valve while driving? Do not use it in driving because of the danger of making the trailer skid. Describe what the trailer air supply control does. The trailer air supply control on newer vehicles is a red 8-sided knob, which you use to control the tractor protection valve. You push it in to supply the trailer with air, and pull it out to shut the air off, and put on the trailer emergency brakes. Describe what the service line is for. 33. Service air line. The service line, also called the control line or signal line, carries air, which is controlled by the foot brake or the trailer hand brake. Depending on how hard you press the foot brake or hand valve, the pressure in the service line will similarly change. What is the emergency air line for? Emergency air line. The emergency line, also called the supply line, has two purposes. First, it supplies air to the trailer air tanks. Second, the emergency line controls the emergency brakes on combination vehicles. Loss of air pressure in the emergency line causes the trailer emergency brakes to come on. The pressure loss could be caused by a trailer breaking loose. thus tearing apart the emergency air hose. Or it could be caused by a hose, metal tubing, or other part breaking, letting the air out. When the emergency line loses pressure, it also causes the tractor protection valve to close. The air supply knob will pop out. Why should you use chocks when parking a trailer without spring brakes? Trailers built before 1975 are not required to have spring brakes. Those that do not have spring brakes have emergency brakes, which work from the air stored in the trailer air tank. The emergency brakes come on whenever air pressure in the emergency line is lost. These trailers have no parking brake. The emergency brakes come on whenever the air supply knob is pulled out or the trailer is disconnected. A major leak in the emergency line will cause the tractor protection valve to close and the trailer emergency brakes to come on. But the brakes will hold only as long as there is air pressure in the trailer air tank. Eventually, the air will leak away, and then there will be no brakes. Therefore, it is very important for safety that you use wheel chocks when you park trailers without spring brakes. 34. Shut-off valves, also called cut-out cocks, are used in the service and supply airlines at the back of trailers used to tow other trailers. These valves permit closing the airlines off when another trailer is not being towed. Subsection 6.3 and 6.4. What might happen if the trailer is too high when you try to couple? Check trailer height. The trailer should be low enough that it is raised slightly by the tractor when the tractor is backed under it. Raise or lower the trailer as needed. If the trailer is too low, the tractor may strike and damage the trailer nose. If the trailer is too high, it may not couple correctly. After coupling, how much space should be between the upper and lower fifth wheel? Make sure there is no space between upper and lower fifth wheel. If there is space, something is wrong. Kingpin may be on top of the closed fifth wheel jaws, and trailer would come loose very easily. You should look into the back of the fifth wheel to see if it is locked onto the kingpin. True or false? Go under trailer and look into the back of the fifth wheel. Make sure the fifth wheel jaws have closed around the shank of the kingpin. 35. To drive, you need to raise the landing gear only until it just lifts off the pavement. True or false? Raise the landing gear all the way up. Never drive with landing gear only part way up, as it may catch on railroad tracks or other things. How do you know if your trailer is equipped with anti-lock brakes? Trailers will have yellow ABS malfunction lamps on the left side, either on the front or rear corner. Which shut-off valves should be open and which closed? You must check that all shut-off valves are in the open position except the ones at the back of the last trailer, which must be closed. How can you test that air flows to all trailers? Check that air flows to all trailers. Use the tractor parking brake and/or chop the wheels to hold the vehicle. Wait for air pressure to reach normal, and then push in the red trailer air supply knob. This will supply air to the emergency supply lines. Use the trailer handbrake to provide air to the service line. Go to the rear of the rig. Open the emergency line shut-off valve at the rear of the last trailer. You should hear air escaping, showing the entire system is charged. Close the emergency line valve. Open the service line valve to check that service pressure goes through all the trailers. 36. Test assumes that the trailer handbrake or the service brake pedal is on, and then close the valve. If you do not hear air escaping from both lines, check that the shutoff valves on the trailers and dolly eyes are in the open position. You must have air all the way to the back for all the brakes to work. How can you test the tractor protection valve? Test tractor protection valve. Charge the trailer air brake system, that is, build up normal air pressure and push the air supply knob in. Shut the engine off. Step on and off the brake pedal several times to reduce the air pressure in the tanks. The trailer air supply control, also called the tractor protection valve control, should pop out or go from normal to emergency position when the air pressure falls into the pressure range specified by the manufacturer, usually within the range of 20 to 45 psi. How can you test the trailer emergency brakes? Test trailer emergency brakes. Charge the trailer air brake system and check that the trailer rolls freely. Then stop and pull out the trailer air supply control, also called tractor protection valve control, or trailer emergency valve, or place it in the emergency position. Pull gently on the trailer with the tractor to check that the trailer emergency brakes are on. How can you test the trailer service brakes? Check for normal air pressure, release the parking brakes, move the vehicle forward slowly, and apply trailer brakes with the hand control, trolley valve, if so equipped. You should feel the brakes come on. This tells you the trailer brakes are connected and working. 37.